My name is Cleo J. Ladishevitz. I first came out when I was 18. Kind of a funny story though, because I didn't actually come out. I just basically came, my mom had left. She left us when I was 18. And so I was going out with my friends and stuff. I had graduated, and so I was going out. My dad asked me where I was going, and so I said that I was gonna go on a date, and he said what's his name? Is he gonna come by? Can I meet him? And I said, it's actually a she, and I'm gonna go pick her up. And he said, okay. And that was kind of the end of the story. And then a couple of nights later, he kind of passed by, and he goes, he asked how the date went and everything, and I was like, it was good, it was nice. And then he basically tapped me on the shoulder and he said, the one piece of advice that I can give you for dating girls is that always treat them like they're a princess, and you never treat a girl like you never hurt her at all. At any point in time, you treat her like she is the person that you need to, you need to take care of her.
My name is David Martin, and I am Cleo's brother-in-law. I've known Cleo for about, 10 years almost. Yeah.
I'm Lauren Martin, and I'm Cleo's sister, Kiki's sister, big older sister.
Cleo and I have always kind of been really open with one another, and I guess she felt comfortable telling me, and I don't remember the specific instance where she did, but it was an honor nonetheless. So yeah, and I mean that openness has continued up until recently in the current relationship that she's been in.
I thought we were, so I'm gonna hope so. Which is why not hearing from her now is weird, because I guess, so yes, we did.
I first met Laura at our work, actually. I didn't actually, at the time, I was actually dating someone else, and I was in a committed relationship with someone else. And I started talking to Laura, and we had a really good connection. And it really threw me off at first, because I even told her the first 3 interactions that we had, I even knew from the beginning, the first words that she said to me, and from the first moment that I saw her, that it was gonna be bad. Not bad, but I mean it was gonna be bad for me in the relationship that I was in. Something was gonna come of us. And so I kind of tried to avoid her for a while, because I didn't want to leave the relationship that I was in, because it was a really good relationship and it was someone who really cared about me. And so I didn't really want to get out of that, but at the same time, I really, from the moment that our eyes met, I felt I knew that something was going to come of this. So I tell her that, because that's what happens. And from the end of it, after that, we spent one lunch together, and from that moment on, it was just, I already knew everything else in the past was not gonna matter. All that mattered was this one person. It was actually her birthday. We had gone out for her birthday with her sisters, and she tends to get a little bit she gets very emotional when she's with her sister and her friends when she's drinking, if she's gone too far. So she gets emotional with them. With me, it's completely different. With me, it's violence. And to me, I think and I've told her this before, but I don't think she quite registers it, but I think it's because of the fact that she doesn't like the fact that she loves me, and I'm who I am, and I am not the I am who I am, and I'm a girl, and that's not what her family wants. That's not what she wants. That's not what is expected of her, or expected of a lot of people. And so sometimes I've told her this before, and I think that's the reasoning behind it sometimes, but she gets so it was her birthday, and she was crying in the car with her sister and with her friends, and after they dropped us off, they left us, and then not but maybe 20 minutes later, not even 15, I would say, she was beating down doors, throwing chairs across the room. She even like threw like a watch that her sister bought, like had just bought her that day, like for her birthday, and like given her. And like I told her, I was like, it's not like you're trying, like I understand that like it's not something you're like it's not just me, like things that are my possessions, because I know you've done it to like things that are yours. But after that, like after I tried to stop her from doing that, then it became me, and I was the thing that needed to be taken down.
David and I like sit together and we're like scheming. I was like, I think this is what's going down, and so I'll have him like assess the situation when he sees her, and then yeah, that's what he said. He was like, oh yeah, this is definitely what's happening, because we like analyzed their interactions together, Laura's lack of interaction with the family, and then when they would show up, like there's the size of a softball like on Kiki's arm. So I'm like, yeah, that's putting all the components together.
There was a family function, and Cleo showed up with, I guess, some pretty severe bruising. And I guess it was under a shirt or whatever, and I found out about it after the fact, which, I mean, that threw me into a rage, because Laura is much bigger than Cleo. I mean, a lot of people are much bigger than Cleo, you know what I mean? And I think it takes a special kind of sociopath, in my unprofessional opinion, to sit there and hurt someone so small, you know what I mean? I mean, obviously defenseless, you know? But yeah, so after that, after the bruising came to my attention, we went out to dinner, and I saw, we were there with her grandmother, her grandfather, and everything, and I took Cleo aside. I was like, is she hitting you? You know, be square with me, is she hitting you? And she kind of danced around it a lot. She said that she was hit, you know. She said that that it was something minor, that her hospital trips had nothing to do with it. I mean, all the things that you would expect to hear in kind of like almost a cliche kind of way from someone who's defending their abuser, right? So, I mean, so red flags are going off like crazy. And I tried to talk to her about it, you know. I tried to share my experiences with her, share experience of some of my sisters, and things like that, just revolving around domestic abuse in general. And I don't know, it was kind of just, you feel like you're banging your head against a wall, because you're like, you have to understand, like, you have power in this situation. Like, they might make you feel powerless, but you're not. You're really holding the cards. And these people that abuse people like this, they are just so fragile human beings. And once you take their control away, you just watch the whole thing crumble, you know? So I think that Cleo, and I think a lot of victims, don't realize, like, you have a lot of power, you know, and that you don't have to. It's hard. Sometimes there's traps. You're tied in economically with these people. You have things with both of your names on them. I mean, it's hard, but there are options, and you do have power. You're not just a victim, you know. There's more to you than that. So I tried to impart those things to her, but you know, I just saw her keep going back for more, and so. At one point, I just started to get really angry. I was just so frustrated. I was like, this girl doesn't love you. I was like, I dare say she doesn't even like you.
I know what I piece together, I bring back to David, and David kind of confirms it, you know, because he's 8 years older than me, and he's been around more people, and I think, like, when I tell him, like, this is what I think is going on, he actually has experience with things, and so he would know it. You know, this is my first experience with that, and I wouldn't imagine that to happen. I'm like, Kiki's smart. Like, why would she do that? And then why would you BS about it and say you ran into a table, you know? So
now it's just back to the excuses again of, oh, she fell at night, or oh, Calvin tripped her, oh, she was taking out the trash, something along those lines. Now it's kind of back to that. I don't know if that's because of the fact that now she kind of realizes that, yeah, a lot of people are catching on, and a lot of people are like questioning a lot of things. The first time that she actually put me in the hospital, she actually got scared that I turned her in, or that I called the police on her, or that I told them what had happened, or what had really happened. Because when I went to the hospital the first time, it was for a concussion, and I told them that I had gotten into a car accident the previous night, and that I just didn't know, and so that after that time, like, I went into the hospital, and so they were kind of like wheeling me around in like a wheelchair because they didn't really want me to be walking because I was kind of having like minor seizures. And like I got up and I kept asking for water and no one would give me water. So I got up to go get water, and like I walked past like the front desk, and like I guess she saw me, and she saw like the nurses come out. And so she was like, at that point, I thought that you turned me in. Like I thought that you said something to them and that I was going to jail. And I was like, but she didn't tell me this until afterwards, but I was just looking for water, and they were coming to ask her like, where's your friend at? Because I had literally just gotten up from the chair, and I was like, I need some water. Like, someone needs to get me water. And so at that point, after she came back, she was like, I was honestly scared. I thought I was going to jail. And after that point, I kind of realized, like, there's a lot of things that, like, she told me that she was never going to do that again, and she would never put me in the hospital again, and she would never hurt me again, and she said it a million times. And I guess after the first time, it kind of changed me, but it takes a lot for a person to stop, or to not feel love for a person still, or to believe in something that they first had. Because she was never, like, in the beginning, it wasn't like this. It was never like this. Like, it wasn't like I felt like I was in prison, and I had to hold things back and keep things secret and tell people things that tell people not to tell her things because I didn't want her to know, because otherwise I would end up hurting in the end. And it wasn't like that from the beginning. It wasn't.
Oh, both. You got, what is that, double-edged sword? You know what I mean? Like, people don't like talking about that, and now it's becoming such a huge thing. Have you seen that commercial where it's like the guy, right? You taught him how to hit the basketball, the last shot, and he's talking about all the things to hit. He's like, but have you taught him what not to hit? And that's only put against men, and then it's to not hit women. And that commercial just came out, this year? So it's not something that's talked about just in that aspect. And I think just like when you hear, oh, my ex-husband used to do this to me, like, you kind of blame them, like, well, why didn't you get out? And there's so many more elements to it. So I think that it's not talked about enough. And then you go to the aspect where if you talk about any kind of like same sex like couples or in any degree, people usually don't want to hear about it, especially now that it's marriage equality and stuff. So I feel like everyone's like, oh, they're just taken over. So you don't want to address that. So now that you have two things that people don't want to talk about put together, you're really screwed.
There's this whole stigma almost. You don't talk about these things, and I think a lot of it's narrative driven. I think a lot of people, they don't want to talk about abuse as a whole, and look at the whole situation. They only want to talk about what we know happens, right? Which is completely horrible, that men are sitting there hitting their wives or hitting their girlfriends and stuff like that, which is obviously of like amazing importance, but why are we leaving victims on the shelf, you know? The fact is like, Cleo's proof, and she's not the only one, you know? And I mean, domestic violence is one of those insanely underreported things, but we have we have such a minefield to get through when we're talking about same-sex domestic violence, because there's so much stigma about sitting there and questioning, you know, a gay or lesbian relationship. You know what I mean? Like you're not even allowed to go there, it seems, socially, which is hurtful. You know, I mean, it's good though. I mean, we're making a lot of strides in the LGBT community and stuff like that. We're making a lot of strides in on making sure everyone's treated equally and everything like that. But to sit there and ignore the bad with the good is moving the goalposts, and you're leaving victims in the trenches at that point. It's not right. It's not right. These are conversations that we should be having openly with each other, you know, and to say that a person in a gay or lesbian relationship doesn't have the capacity to harm another human being is, well, I mean, that's a fantasy. It's not real. These victims are real, and you can't just keep brushing them under the rug. No, it's not right.
I told her, it was like the same way that you don't trust me when I'm not around, like when I'm not here. And like the sad thing is that the reason I'm not there is because I can't be there, because I'm scared. I'm afraid. The same way that you feel when I'm not there because you don't know where I am and you're wondering about like my safety is the same way I feel every single day when I walk into our house. Like, it's not just a one-day thing. It's not just like maybe one day I'll walk in and sometimes I feel a little bit different, or it's every day. Every day I walk into our, like, we'll go home from work, have a conversation on the ride home maybe, or not. And every day when we walk in that door, I'm scared. I'm afraid. I don't know what's gonna come of that night. I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know what mood she's gonna be in. If I'm gonna get angry, if I'm gonna get love, if I'm gonna get happiness, if I'm gonna get hatred. I'm uncertain every single day. And every single day, and I know that's a decision that I willingly make every day, hoping that maybe we'll go back to the way we were. But yes, I am scared every day.
People that love you aren't going to do this to you. You know, people that like you aren't going to do this to you. I mean, a stranger you meet on the street, you know, there's a very small chance that anything violent is going to happen, like if you take up a conversation with them. So what type of loathing is like deep down in someone that would make them hurt someone, but they don't want them to leave, and they're jealous, and you know, I don't know. It's one set of rules for this person, the abuser, and another set of rules for the victim. It's frustrating, and it's frustrating to see that for so long Cleo was willing to keep feeding this relationship when she needed to really get away, you know, and she needed help, you know, she needed help. I think most victims do, you know.
I don't know. I wish it was kind of over and done with already. Like, I know everyone has to go through stuff in life, and there's reasons for everything. So I hope the reason is figured out and like moved on now, because it's weird. Because like you said, I saw her having realizations yesterday when we were talking a little bit, but yet it's like to still go back home and to still feed into the situation kind of sucks, because I'm like, when are we done? Like, you know, obviously the relationship isn't good in any kind of aspect, physical, emotional, mentally. So like why do those keep getting checked off and yet not pulling back from the situation? So I just wish it would all be over and done with by now. But I'm glad to see that it is, like you said, yesterday seemed a lot better, but I don't have much to go off of it. It looks like it's going in a better direction, hopefully.
I mean, it's sad to say, but when you love someone so much and you care about someone so much, and you just keep making the excuses and the excuses and the excuses, and you keep making up lies, at this point I just don't think that if the signs wouldn't have been obvious. And that's what I keep saying, is that the only thing, everything that I've done in this time period, everything that she's gone about saying, that what's made her angry and what's led to more of this is to protect her and to make sure that this, that she doesn't get put away, that she doesn't do this, she doesn't, nobody hurts her. And but I guess that's what you call love, right? That's what, or at least that's what I keep telling myself. I've told her, I warned her. I've told her on multiple occasions that people have noticed, they see the bruises, they're obvious now. Before, you were hiding them, you would put them in places that nobody could really see or nobody really noticed. But they're obvious now, they're on my face. I'm calling out of work. Haven't seen my family in 3 months. I'm avoiding phone calls. I don't have a phone. At that point, I think she realized that yes, things are turning around.
If anyone is in the situation that Cleo is in, you have power. There's a line between, you are a victim. There's no doubt you are a victim, but the difference between a victim and a survivor is because they realize their own power and their own self-worth. Exercise that power. Exercise your self-worth, and don't cheapen yourself at all, because you already have someone else doing that for you.
Just that I hope that other people don't put themselves in my same situation. I know love seems like it's a lot, and it is, and when you really fall for someone, or when you care about someone so much, yes, it seems like it's always worth it. But when you're scared for your life every day, and when someone's trying or tried, and someone says that they have, or when you have knives in your kitchen and you have to hide them, every time that someone gets a little bit too drunk because you're scared of what will happen. Just know, for anyone, it might seem worth it, but in the end, I'm really the dumb one for staying. And I hope you know that.